Okay, this is my first podcast in the self-help category. It's about active listening. Active listening is a communication skill that involves going beyond simply hearing the words that another person speaks, but also seeking to understand the meaning behind and intent behind them. It requires being an active participant in the communication process. I consider myself a pretty good active listener. I like solving people's problems and listening and trying to understand. And some good active listening techniques include being fully present in the conversation, showing interest by practicing good eye contact, noticing and using nonverbal cues, asking open-ended questions to encourage further responses, and paraphrasing and reflecting back what has been said, like not saying exactly what that person said, but summarizing it in your own words, basically. And then listening to understand rather than to respond. So that means like putting aside your own opinions and judgments and just listening just to understand what that person is trying to tell you, and withholding judgment and advice. In communication, active listening is important because it keeps you engaged with your conversation partner in a positive way. It also makes the other person feel heard and valued. This skill is the foundation of a successful conversation in any setting, whether at work, at home, or in social situations. When you practice active listening, you are fully engaged and immersed in what the other person is saying. Next is, what's the difference between hearing and listening? Well, hearing, you can hear other people speak, but not actually comprehend or digest what they're saying. And here's 7 active listening techniques that may help you become a better active listener. Number 1, be fully present. This enables you to concentrate on what is being said. Being present involves listening with all your senses, sight, sound, and giving your full attention to the speaker. Like, for instance, putting away your cell phone, ignoring distractions, avoid daydreaming, and just shut down your own internal dialogue and place your focus on your conversation partner and let everything else slip away. And also try to put aside your own beliefs and opinions if possible. Number 2, pay attention to nonverbal cues. As much as 65% of a person's communication is unspoken. Paying attention to these nonverbal cues can tell you a lot about the person and what they're trying to say. If they talk fast, for instance, this could be a sign that they are nervous or anxious. If they talk slowly, they may be trying or tired or trying to carefully choose their words. During active listening, your nonverbal behaviors are just as important. To show the person you're truly tuned in, use open, non-threatening body language. This involves not folding your arms, smiling while listening, leaning in, and nodding at key junctures. It can also be helpful to pay attention to your facial expressions when active listening so that you don't convey any type of negative response. And again, keeping good eye contact, asking open-ended questions. Asking yes or no questions often produce dead-end answers. This isn't helpful during active listening, as it keeps the conversation from flowing. It also makes it difficult to truly listen to the other person because there isn't much you can gain from a short, non-descriptive response. Some examples of open-ended questions are, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Or, what did you think about that? Or, what do you think is the best path forward? Or, how do you think you could have responded differently? These open-ended questions encourage thoughtful, expansive responses, which is why they're often used by mental health therapists. Let's see. Reflect what you hear. That's also like summarizing and paraphrasing. After the person has had their chance to speak, this technique ensures that you've captured their thoughts, ideas, and emotions accurately. It helps them feel validated and understood while keeping any potential miscommunication to a minimum. If you'd like to better understand something the person has said, ask for clarification, but don't focus so much on the insignificant details that you miss the big picture. And 6, be patient. Patience is an important active listening technique because it allows the other person to speak without interruption, and also gives them time to say what they are thinking without having you try to finish their sentences for them. And like I've always said from some TED Talks I watched, listen with the intent to understand and not the intent to reply. And lastly, withhold judgment. Just be as neutral and non-judgmental as possible in your responses. And this will enable the other person to feel comfortable with sharing their thoughts. And it'll make the conversation a safe zone where they can trust that they won't be shamed, criticized, blamed, or otherwise negatively received.